Someone cannot sleep tonight, and it is because of you. Not in the vague, generalized way that people sometimes cannot sleep because of a situation or a feeling or the accumulated weight of too many unresolved things pressing on their chest in the dark, in the specific way, the named way, the way where there is a face and a voice and a particular quality of presence that keeps returning to the surface of awareness every single time sleep tries to take hold and cannot quite manage it because something more insistent keeps arriving first. Your face, your voice, the specific, unrepeatable feeling of you. Stay with me. Because what I am feeling in your energy tonight has a texture that I want to walk you through carefully. This is not a simple reading. This is not someone having a passing thought about you before they drift off. What is happening on the other side of your world right now, in the private dark of someone's sleepless night, is considerably more than that. Let me tell you what late at night actually means. Because there is a reason the hours between midnight and 4 in the morning have a different quality from every other part of the day. A reason why the things that can be successfully managed and redirected and kept at a comfortable distance during daylight hours lose their manageability in the dark. It is not mystery or poetry. It is simply that the mechanisms we use to avoid thinking about the things that matter most to us require energy to maintain. Distraction requires energy. The performance of being fine requires energy. The ongoing project of keeping certain feelings in their designated compartments, accessible for brief visits but not allowed to roam freely through the whole interior of a person, requires a continuous and significant expenditure of energy. Sleep takes that energy away, and without it, everything that was being managed stops being managed. Everything that was being kept in its compartment walks out. And for this person, what walks out is you, every single night. I have been sitting with the energy around this person for a while before pressing record today, because what came through was layered in a way that required time to understand fully. And I want to deliver it to you in its full texture because I think you deserve more than a surface reading of this situation. The first thing I felt was longing, not the comfortable, bearable, I miss someone, but I am basically fine kind of longing. The other kind, the kind that has weight to it, that sits in the chest like something physical, that makes a person turn over in bed and reach for their phone and then put it back down and then pick it up again, that makes 3 in the morning feel like an accusation. This person is in that longing tonight, fully, without the relief of being able to do something with it or say something about it or direct it anywhere that would reduce its pressure. Just sitting in it, in the dark, with you in their mind with a clarity and a vividness that would probably embarrass them if they knew anyone was watching. Nobody is watching except the version of you that lives in their thoughts. And that version of you, the one that visits them in the unguarded hours, the one they cannot edit or manage or keep at an appropriate emotional distance when the lights are off and the day is over and there is nothing left to hide behind. That version is present with them right now in a way that is almost unbearable in its realness. Mm, Let me speak to what they think about, because it is specific and I feel it clearly, and vague descriptions of late night longing do not do justice to what is actually happening in this person's mind. They think about conversations, not the big ones necessarily, Not the dramatic moments or the significant exchanges that would be obvious candidates for late night revisiting. The small ones, the ordinary ones, the conversations that happened in the unremarkable middle of shared time that felt like nothing particularly significant in the moment, but that turned out to contain something that this person has been unable to leave behind. A specific thing you said once that struck them as so precisely, irreplaceably you that it stayed. The way you laughed at something when you were not trying to be charming about it. The completely unguarded version of your laugh that only appears when something genuinely catches you off guard and you respond to it before your social composure has a chance to get involved. The way you looked at them once, just once, in a particular kind of moment, with an expression that they have been trying to read correctly ever since and cannot quite resolve into a definitive interpretation. These are the things that visit them at 3 in the morning. Small things, ordinary things, things that only matter this much to someone who is paying very close attention. They were paying very close attention. Does something in you already know this? Have you felt a particular quality of being thought about recently? Not a concrete sign, not a message or a call or anything you could point to and say, this is the evidence, just the feeling. The specific atmospheric feeling of occupying space in someone else's mind from a distance, of being present somewhere you are not physically present, of existing in another person's late night in a way that produces something that travels. Some of you felt it before you clicked on this. That is why you clicked. Let me know in the comments if this is landing somewhere specific for you tonight. Tell me if you have been feeling this particular quality of someone's energy, because I think you have. I think that feeling is what brought you here, and I think confirming it is one of the things this reading is meant to do. Let me tell you about the phone. Because there is a phone involved in this late night, and what happens with that phone is something I feel very clearly, and it is one of the most telling details of what this person is actually experiencing. They look at your name, not every night, but on the nights like tonight, the nights when the longing has reached a pitch that makes everything else feel insufficient, and the hours are stretching out ahead of them with a quality of emptiness that your absence gives them, they find themselves looking at your name on a screen. Sometimes they type something, not always, but sometimes, a beginning, a sentence or half a sentence, or just your name, followed by something they immediately recognize as insufficient for everything they are actually trying to say. And then they read it back and they know it is not right. Not because it is wrong, because it is not big enough. Because what they are feeling in that moment is considerably larger than any opening message has the capacity to hold, and sending something that small feels like misrepresenting something that is this large. So they delete it and they put the phone down and they lie there in the specific frustrated tenderness of someone who has something real to say and cannot find the right way to begin saying it. This has happened more than once, more than a few times. The unsent messages are accumulating in a way that is beginning to feel like its own kind of pressure. Inhale. I want to speak to something that I think is the deeper truth underneath all of this late night energy. Because I could tell you simply that someone cannot sleep because they are thinking about you and leave it there. But that would be a surface reading. And the surface is not where the real meaning of this lives. The real meaning lives in what the thinking reveals about what you are to this person about the specific position you occupy in their interior world, about the gap between what they feel when they are being honest with themselves in the dark and what they have been presenting to the world and perhaps to you in the daylight hours. That gap is significant because people do not lose sleep over things that are peripheral to them. Do not spend their private dark hours cycling through memories and half composed messages and the particular helpless tenderness of missing someone who is not there over things that live at the edges of their world. They lose sleep over the things at the center. You are at the center of this person's interior world, not at the edges, not in the manageable, compartmentalized, I have appropriate feelings about this situation place where people try to keep things that are complicated or unresolved or that they are not sure what to do with. At the center, where the real things live, where the things that actually define someone's inner life live, that is where you are. That is where you have been. And the late nights are simply the hours when that truth becomes impossible to pretend otherwise about. Let me speak to the version of you that lives in their thoughts, because it is not always the version you would expect, and understanding it tells you something important about how you are actually seen by this person. They think about you honestly, not the idealized version that exists in the early stages of feeling something for someone before real knowledge complicates the picture. They are past that. They know you, not completely, but enough to have a picture of you that includes your complexity and your contradictions and the parts of you that are not always easy and the parts of you that are extraordinary in ways you do not always see in yourself. And what is remarkable is that the knowing has not diminished the feeling. That is the thing about what this person carries for you. It has survived contact with the real you, with the full, complicated, not always presenting its best face version of you that only becomes visible when someone has had enough access and enough time to see past the composed exterior. They have seen past the composed exterior, and they are still up at 3 in the morning thinking about you with an intensity that makes sleep impossible. That is not a small thing, Virgo. That is actually everything. I want to be honest with you about something before we close, because this reading would not be complete without it. The late nights are not sustainable, not because they will end in some resolved, tidy conclusion where the longing simply stops, but because longing of this quality and this consistency has a natural momentum toward expression, toward the moment when what has been contained in the private dark of sleepless hours finally finds its way into the space between two people where it can actually be received rather than simply felt alone. Something is building toward that moment. This person is building toward it, not necessarily consciously, not necessarily with a plan or a timeline or a clear sense of exactly how they intend to close the distance between the 3 in the morning truth and the daylight conversation that truth is eventually going to require. But the building is happening in the accumulation of unsent messages, in the nightly return to your memory, in the specific exhaustion of someone who has been carrying something real with nowhere to put it for long enough that the carrying itself has become unsustainable. What cannot be held forever eventually moves. And what this person is holding for you has been held long enough, pay attention to what comes toward you, not with the anxious, scanning quality of someone waiting for a sign, with the open, grounded, genuinely present attention of someone who knows that what is coming will be unmistakable when it arrives, because it will be unmistakable, and you will know exactly what it is the moment it reaches you. If this reading touched something real for you tonight, please share it with a Virgo who needs to feel this energy and leave me a comment below. Tell me if you have been feeling this person's late night energy reaching you. Tell me if something in this reading confirmed what you were already sensing. I read every word you leave for me, every single one. Your energy matters to me long after this recording ends. Until next time, Virgo, somewhere tonight, someone cannot sleep, and your name is the reason why. Let that mean what it means all the way, without qualification, without shrinking it into something more manageable than what it actually is. It is exactly as significant as it feels.